So before we get into the news of the week, and I know I kind of said the same thing in the video that did earlier today, and that I was going to go straight into the news of the week, but I want to first talk about the San Jose Earthquakes new primary kit that they just released today, and I actually going to show you guys a picture of this on my phone. So this is basically the new kit that the Quakes are going to be wearing for the next 2 years, their new home kit. And all I'll say about this new kit is that, well, yeah, I am probably not going to buy this new kit. I mean, you know, when you look at this kit, it's definitely not the worst kit. I mean, I've been hearing there's some people that said that this looks absolutely hideous, and that the Quakes they should have definitely done a little bit better in terms of their primary kit, and all this hype about this new primary kit is going to be amazing, and then they basically show this. And I do kind of agree that it definitely does not look very good, but it's not the worst, okay? And I've seen worse primary kit than this one. But one thing I will say is that this kit looks like it's very unfinished. Obviously, as you can probably tell, there is no sponsor in this kit, which means that the Quakes will once again be heading into the new season without a shirt sponsor. We had this problem a couple of years ago, and this pretty much confirmed that Sutter Health is not coming back to sponsor the jersey of our team. But it just kind of feels like it's a little bit unfinished, because I think they could have done a little bit in terms of here at the bottom, where it's just all black. And it kind of also looks like a training kit more than actually a kit that you would be wearing for a game. And, like I said, I don't think I'm going to buy it. I think I will just stick with my old home kit, and I might even think about buying the away kit from last year, of how, even though the away kit from last year wasn't the best, because one, it was white. At least that one does kind of have a little bit of pattern in it that I kind of like. This one kind of doesn't. Like, it looks really it looks very bland, and it looks very kind of uninterested. And, it's going to be really hard to maybe try to convince someone to buy this one for $140. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be one of those guys. Although technically I get this for $120 because of the season ticket holder discount code. But yeah, so let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the kit? I mean, I don't think it's bad, but I feel like it's unfinished, and that it feels more like a training kit, and that I feel like they could have done a little bit more. And just keep in mind, I really think this year MLS, in terms of their jersey unveil and some of the kit that they have showed to the fans, yeah, they have been underwhelmingly bad. And I think MLS, either they're going to have to contact Adidas and say that they got to step up their game in terms of this kit designing, or they're going to have to part ways with Adidas and just go with Nike instead, because it's kind of ridiculous, the fact that so far with most of the kit that I've seen that each team have released, it's been mostly white. And I know in other sports here in the States, most teams wear white whenever they go on the road. Yeah, that's not the case that shouldn't be the case in MLS, and it shouldn't be the case in soccer, because when you see other leagues around the world, most of the team, when they go on the road, they do not wear white. They wear a different kind of color that is different from their color of the team. And I just feel like by giving every team a white kit, it just kind of like follows what other sports here in the US is doing, which is just putting a white kit whenever they go on the road. And I don't want MLS to do that. Like, well, the thing that I really don't want MLS to do is copy what other American professional league is doing right now, because MLS, it should be completely different. It should have a unique factor. But either way, with that being said, let's actually now move on to the news of the week. And I think I told you guys that leave a comment below of what do you think of it. And would you want to buy it? Like, if you're a Quakes fan like me, would you want to buy this kit? Or do you want to just kind of skip it and just keep your old primary kit? But either way, let's begin with the news of the week. And we start with Darlington Nagbe. So there is a report that he is leaving Atlanta United and that he is going to be going to the Columbus Crew. And I think there is a pretty good reason why he's going to the Columbus Crew. Caleb Porter is the reason. So it looks like if this deal is going to go down, Darlington Nagbe is going to reunite his former coach, Caleb Porter, and that it seemed like Nagbe and Porter has a very good relationship. Nagbe really likes to play under Porter when he was with the Portland Timbers, and he even won a cup with him back, I think it was 2016 or 2015, the year that the Timbers won the cup. And if this transaction does happen, it's going to be one of the biggest transactions we have seen in the league in terms of intertrade. The allocation money is going to be really it would be massive. It will definitely be over $1 million. And, if you're Atlanta, I think you would definitely accept that. Because, I think Nagbe, last year when he was with Atlanta, he was okay, but he wasn't like the star player. He wasn't like a guy that you would really need. And if you lose him, then that is very bad. And I don't think Atlanta United fans will feel bad if they lose Nagbe. I mean, I guess they'll just say, well, thank you for your service and thank you for being your contribution of winning the cup. But if we're going to get $1 million of allocation money, then we are gladly going to take it. And, I think Atlanta would definitely gladly take the amount of money, which, like I said, it's going to be more than $1 million most likely, to try to sell Darlington Nagbe and trade him to the Columbus Crew. But we shall see if this is going to happen. And I think it's a good move for the Columbus Crew, because although I think the Crew could have spent that money on somebody else, Darlington Nagbe is a decent kind of player. I mean, I know the fact that he wasn't as good as he was when he was with the Timbers a couple of years ago, but the thing is, he gets to play under his former coach, and that, like I said, he tends to enjoy playing under Porter than he is when he was with Atlanta and playing under Tata Martino. So yeah, we shall see if this deal does happen. But some of that allocation money that Columbus is going to give might be actually, they might actually get a little bit extra cash and maybe a little bit discounts to try to get Darlington Nagbe, and that they don't have to pay $1 million. Why is that the reason? Because their interstate rival FC Cincinnati is going to give them $300,000 worth of GAM, because they have signed winger Kakuta Mane from a Swiss club. And obviously, Kakuta Mane, like I said, he's not part of the Columbus Crew anymore, but because the Columbus Crew does have his right, and I'm not even going to explain why exactly do they have to pay 300,000 GAM because of those rights and stuff like that. It's very complicated. But basically, they're going to give Columbus Crews 300,000 GAM in order to sign Kakuta Mane. Now, Kakuta Mane, he definitely did not really had a lot. He definitely did not enjoy playing in Europe. Let's say. I mean, when he decided to go to Europe and hope that he was going to maybe get more minutes and maybe take the next step, yeah, he definitely did not. He rarely featured in the Swiss League and with his club that is playing in the Swiss League, and that now he's coming back to MLS. And, I think when he was with the Columbus Crew, he didn't really score a lot of goals with this team. So, in many ways, I kind of think FC Cincinnati, once again, is kind of paying too much to other team in order to get a player that they really need. Now, this player, I guess this is one of the positions that they really need, because right now FC Cincinnati is very short in terms of the attacking end, and it looked like for the upcoming season that they are going to for their inaugural season, they're going to be a very defensive team, and that this is going to be a team that is not going to really just, it's not going to wow you with so many goals like what we saw with LAFC and Atlanta coming into the league. It's going to be a very organized team. It's kind of going to be more like a Minnesota kind of a team, which that probably is not a good sign for FC Cincinnati, because Minnesota did horribly in their first year. But I think the only difference is that I think FC Cincinnati, with the defense that they have and with all the how much depth that they have in that defensive midfield and in that back line, I feel there's more confidence in terms of this team of how they're going to do in their inaugural year compared to Minnesota. But still, I am a little bit concerned going for in terms of the attack. And even though they have signed Kakuta, I don't know if this is going to be enough for them to really score a lot of goals. I mean, I know that they're going to heavily rely on Fernando Adi, and Adi is definitely a good striker, but the question is it going to be the Fernando Adi from a couple of years ago where he was absolutely unstoppable, or is it going to be the Fernando Adi after he suffered that injury where he just fell off a cliff? So we will see how that will be, and we'll see how FC Cincinnati will basically look heading into this new season. And also, let's see how Katamane is going to do with this team. Is he going to be a starter, or is he going to be on the bench? I'm guessing maybe he's going to be a starter because they're just so short in attacking front right now. But next up, DC. So they have claimed Chris McCann off waivers, and I think a couple of days ago in the last episode of the News of the Week, I said that I won't be surprised if Chris McCann is going to get picked up by a team, and that it's not going to take very long for him to get another team. Well, what do you know? There you go. 2 days later, DC United picked him up, and this will definitely boost the depth that DC United is going to get in that defensive end. You know, McCann, I think he's a very kind of decent defender. He didn't really play a lot under Atlanta United, but he's still a very kind of decent defender, and I think DC United is going to get a lot of help out of that in that defensive end. And although I did say that he is getting a little bit older and that he's like, 32 years old, he's definitely a kind of almost above average kind of defender, and I won't be surprised if they even think about starting him in that back line for DC United. So this is definitely a good signing that DC United has, and the best thing is they don't even have to pay Atlanta United for this, because Atlanta cut him a couple of days ago, and DC basically picked up his option once Atlanta waived him off. But next up, Montreal. So they have signed Nigerian forward, and I'm gonna absolutely butcher this name. Okawankwa, I think that's how you pronounce it. But they signed this striker from Bologna FC from Serie A. Now, when you look at this, you would think, okay, that's definitely a decent kind of signing, and this is definitely going to be a replacement for Jason Vargas that they let him go on loan just a couple of days ago, and that maybe that will put a little bit pressure off of Maxi Urruti in terms of their striker depth that Montreal has. But until you realize that this guy doesn't really play for Bologna FC a lot. In fact, he rarely starts. He's more of a kind of a reserve player for this team, and he doesn't score a lot of goals too. So it feels like this is kind of like a Jason Vargas type signing, and that's why I said that this is kind of like a replacement for him. And I don't know if this is gonna maybe push a little bit pressure off Maxi Urruti. I think Maxi Urruti still has a lot of pressure on him heading into this season, because Montreal really trusts that he is going to be the guy that is going to put in goals for them. I mean, we, we, we shall see. Like, I think maybe he will get some starting minute and maybe he'll just come off the bench for Urruti, but I don't think he's gonna be a starter. I don't know if he's going to start or not start, but get a ton of goal considering the fact that he didn't get a ton of goal when he was with Bologna and at Serie A. But next up, the Red Bulls. They have signed Danish striker Matthias Jorgensen, and this guy is actually only 19 years old, so most likely what happened is that Red Bull signed this kid, but they're going to immediately ship him off to their second team, which is Red Bull 2. And, I think this is definitely kind of a decent signing for the Red Bulls because now they have more young players that they can give to their affiliate team and give it to their B team. And I think he's going to develop in that Red Bulls second team. And from what I also heard from Jorgensen, I heard that he was a very decent kind of talented striker and that he can definitely have a very bright future and have a lot of potential heading into his prime year. So for the Red Bulls, I think this is kind of one of those signings where they're definitely thinking about the future because the Red Bulls is kind of one of those teams that is just a selling team. Like, this is a team that don't really keep their star unless your name is BWP for a very long time. I mean, they sold Tyler Adams this year. They're probably going to sell more players heading into the upcoming, or not upcoming season, but heading into the very next year. And that once they decided to sold off most of their big players on that team to either go to Europe or to another team in MLS, they're just going to bring in all these kind of youngsters from the second team. It's kind of very similar to the FC Dallas kind of move where FC Dallas decided to just sell off most of their players that they develop in the academy to either a MLS team or just go to Europe. But except I think the Red Bulls does it even better in terms of producing kind of good talent, and certainly talent that you would see that in the future when they do get sold off, they're going to be very promising, and that in the future, if that player that they sold off is going to be very promising, not only it's going to be more credibility in terms of MLS being a good selling league, but it's also the Red Bulls being a team that is going to put a stamp and say that we have the best academy team in the entire MLS. Sorry, FC Dallas fan and the FC Dallas Academy by saying that, but it's kind of true. I mean, in some ways. But either way, moving on, Minnesota. So Minnesota decided that they're going to sign a goalkeeper, and they're going to sign former Sunderland goalkeeper Vito Minnow. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is a goalkeeper that they signed for a backup position that he's going to be playing with Minnesota, and that this is going to be a replacement for Matt Lampson that they sold during this offseason, or is he going to challenge Bobby Shuttleworth in terms of that spot? And I've been hearing a lot of Minnesota fans that say that Shuttleworth is just not good enough with this team and he looks really awful. And when you look at the stats, it definitely says that Bobby Shuttleworth is a very poor goalkeeper because he concedes so many goals throughout his time with Minnesota. But I actually think that Bobby Shuttleworth is kind of decent. I mean, yes, he does have moments where he made some bad decision, or he spilled a couple of balls that he should have easily catch, or he should have saved a couple of shots that look very savable. But at the same time, when you look at Minnesota in the last two seasons that have conceded the most goals ever in MLS history, part of that I don't think is Shuttleworth's fault. I think part of that has to be because of that defense of Minnesota that is just absolutely garbage for the last 2 years. Like, you could put maybe the best goalkeeper, you could maybe put Zach Steffen at Minnesota, and Zach Steffen would still have a a very kind of bad number, and that Zach Steffen will probably never be the guy that is going to start with the U.S. men's national team or even go to Man City if he plays under Minnesota, because he's going to face so many shots that, even having an ace save performance, he can still give up 5 goals because Minnesota defense are just, it's non-existent. Like, they just let opponents basically take some training pot shots of the goalkeeper, and that is why Bobby Shuttleworth have that bad of a number. So we'll see if now Minnesota has a better defense. Will Bobby Shuttleworth gets better? And if he does, then I think it's pretty clear that it wasn't the goalkeeper the reason why you guys are keep conceding goals. It's clearly the defense. But if Minnesota still concede goals and it's look like it's the goalkeeper fault more than the defense, then yeah, it's probably Bobby Shuttleworth. And maybe you give Vito Minnow a chance. Although from what I heard from Sunderland fan, Vito Minnow is just as bad of a goalkeeper as what many Minnesota fans would say about Bobby Shuttleworth. I mean, at times he spilled a couple of balls, and he had a lot of savable shot that gets past him and end up into the back of the net. So yeah, we shall see how this goalkeeper situation would be for Minnesota, and that this is definitely one thing that they are kind of having a little bit problem heading into this upcoming season. But next up, so I probably should have put this a little bit higher on the board, because usually when I do news of the week, I usually put the most important news at the top of the board, but apparently Genk says that they are not going to sell Alejandro Pezzulo to TFC until the end of the season. And the story behind this is that Pezzulo really wants to go to TFC and he wants to leave Genk, but Genk refused to sell him because he is their captain and he is probably the most important player on this team. And keep in mind, Genk is actually currently first in the Belgium league, and they are on verge of potentially winning their 4th league title in their 30-year club history. So obviously Genk is not going to just let go of their best player in the middle of the season, and that it could spoil their chance to win the league title. And I think that is probably the reason why they're not willing to let Pezzulo go. And if you're TFC, what do you do here? Like, do you want to wait till the summer transfer window, try again, ask Genk if we can get Pezzulo, and maybe they of course will sell him, because remember, like I said, they're not willing to sell him until the end of the season. So maybe at the end of the season, they're willing to sell him again. And I kind of feel bad for Genk fans, and kind of also feel a little bit bad for Pezzulo, because, for Genk fans, they're on the verge of winning a league title, and now all of a sudden you have this kind of black clouds under the club, because apparently one of your best players do not want to play for you anymore and want to move on to another club. And for Pezzulo, he's probably under a lot of fire with his supporters. Like, his supporters is probably pretty much holding him hostile, and just, I can imagine he might even get booed when he's playing with this team, because of the way that he doesn't want to play with the team anymore, and that he wants to move to TFC. And if this move doesn't go well for him, yeah, it's gonna be tough for him to try to earn that trust from Genk fans. But like I said, I think if this looks like this is gonna be a move that could potentially happen at the end of the season, and that is the end of the Belgium season, not MLS. And the reason why I specified that is because in the Belgian league, like most European league, the season ends in May. In MLS, around that time, we're in the middle of the season. So this looks like it's going to be a summer transfer window kind of deal. And then finally, or actually there's 2 more news, but I'm just going to do it very quickly, because usually at the end of the news of the week, I talk about some news that is not about signings or rumors that is going on. But apparently Mercedes-Benz Stadium is going to get a new turf this season, and I know Atlanta's fans probably are very excited about this. Does that mean that we're gonna finally have grass field at Mercedes-Benz Stadium? No, it's still gonna be just turf, and it's just going to be they're just switching the turf and putting new ones so that it just doesn't get damaging, and the wear level is going to be the wear level is not going to be very high, and it's just going to be back down to 0% because with turf, it's definitely something that you need to replace pretty much every couple of years. It's not sustainable for many years like grass field. Well, even grass field you also have to replace too, so it's kind of the same thing. But finally, the Galaxy, they are going to build a statue of David Beckham, and this will be the first time ever that any MLS team is building a statue from the player that plays for them in the past, and certainly well deserved the fact that the Galaxy is going to build a statue of David Beckham, because David Beckham means so much to this league. I think this league right now, with the way that it's entering MLS 3.0, it would never be at this stage if David Beckham did not come to this league and just completely grow this league to what it is now, and certainly wellly deserved to get a statue there in front of StubHub Center, or Dignity Health Sports Park, as they just recently changed the name. And it'll also be interesting to see what happened when Miami plays the Galaxy. It's like, yeah, your opponent owner has a statue in front of your stadium. That should be very kind of interesting to see. And the other thing about this is that this means that other team is going to eventually follow what the Galaxy does, which is build a statue in front of the stadium. And I'm hoping that one day when Wando does retire for the Quakes, there's going to be a Wando statue in front of Avaya Stadium. There has to be. Like, I feel like if there's not a Wando statue in the next 20 years, then yeah, there's definitely going to be petition for adding Wando in front of Avaya Stadium, because Wando is just a legend for the Quakes. So, yeah, either way, that is pretty much it for the news of the week. And again, it's a long one. I do apologize to that. I'm trying to keep these short, but, unfortunately, I always have to make it like around 27 minutes. But either way, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, and yeah, I will see you guys next time.